Welcome to the Crit House, everybody. Today we continue with our first critique group with a fantastic group of photographers from around the country. Nina Welch-Kling is a New York City-based street photographer who recently published her book, Duo Logs. Nick Gervin documents life in Portland, Maine, and he has a book called Portlanders. Jenae Lien is a Los Angeles-based photographer and the co-founder of These Streets magazine. Granville Carroll is a photographer and educator teaching at Arizona State University. He recently published a book, Dark Matter. Ellen Friedlander is a Los Angeles-based artist and co-director of Pasadena Photo Arts. And I'm Jeff Larson, host of the Crit House. My book is called Sonder. Now today on the Crit House, we're going to take a look at the work of Ellen Friedlander. The Crit group is going to help her with a submission in plans for critical mass this summer. Here's that discussion.
Well, I'm very grateful to be here with all of you today. I have been working on this particular body of work since 2017. It started out because I had 4,000 photographs from the streets of Hong Kong that I took in 2014 and started to play with them and started to put them next to each other. And then this is the very first one I ever made, Bird Market. And so over the course of the last 5 years or so, I've really worked at making them. And they tell unique stories and unique ways of looking at the street. And I'd like to know your feedback on that. And then, like Jeff, that we've talked about in his work for critical mass, I'm very interested in finding the best 10 that I would absolutely like to submit. I've did critical mass when I first started in photography and as fine art in 2018 or such. I was not ready. So hopefully I'm a little more ready now. And so that's the kind of feedback I'm looking for today.
Well, Ellen, I remember when I first saw these images and I thought they were panoramics and it blew me away. And then I realized they're not, and they were stitched together just done in a lovely way. I mean, you've managed to capture something fantastic in all of these images. So who wants to jump in with their first thoughts?
I guess I'll jump in. Ellen, I agree with Jeff. When I looked at them, and I've seen them before, but when I saw them on my screen, it blew me away that there were not one panorama. I mean, I really, and some of them are definitely more striking than others. I mean, they're all amazing, but I think when the perspective kind of moves back into space, where it creates these forward and backward spaces. I mean, they all do, but it was like, wow, like I really thought it was one space, like it was one just kind of alley space, and the colors are incredible. So you want us to I guess to eliminate.
I do. I want you to
some of them, which is really hard.
I think right off the bat, like it draws me in. It's almost like I want to say like a Where's Waldo book. Like I just want to study each picture really in depth and look for what's important. But the whole thing is, and it's such a neat idea. I particularly like the alley scenes the most.
Yeah.
And I like the use of mural and graffiti art.
Yeah.
Intertwined into the scenes. It's really an interesting new way to see an urban setting. And I think you got something really cool here. As far as the best ones, again, I would just lean towards the messier the scene, the better. I think that we want, and then also keep into account like how well you've stitched some of them together, where like this one, obviously this is the one you said, the first one, you've really stitched it together quite well. I mean, on first glance, it looks like one scene. And I think that's what you want to achieve,
Yeah, I agree. As Nick was talking about the Where's Waldo, was writing down puzzle pieces. It feels like you're sort of going out into the world and you're observing these moments that are seemingly disconnected, but then you're unifying them in this really beautiful way. And I agree, like these type of scenes where it just has that incredible amount of depth that recedes into the image. It makes it feel three-dimensional. And I've never been to any of these locations. I don't know where these are, other than you saying it's Hong Kong, but I can locate myself there as well. So in that way, I think it's strong because it feels relatable, as though I'm sort of in your position, looking at the world through your eyes. And I mean, in terms of a sequence, can we look at them all together and see what we can do to? Yeah, I definitely would agree. Number 3 and 5 are really strong.
Number
Like number
6.
4 and 6, yeah.
So I'm going to move them around and pull them up to the top so we can put them as a 3, 5, and you said this one is being 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
I know I'm not a fan of number 8.
This one? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the murals are too clean for me and too professional. I like something about the whole scene is too clean. It's not that it's not done well, but I like the messier scene.
I also think you can read the photos, the individual photos on the left side. I think this is like the one where you can see it the strongest.
This feels
And
more
it's
like
not
a
as
triptych
ambiguous.
than
Yeah.
than a panoramic.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh.
What about 12? With
16.
the alleys going in and out.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's pretty good, yeah.
How many photos is this one?
It's 3, but it
3.
looks like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I worked really hard at the photograph on the left. It was magical. The light at this particular moment. It was really early in the morning in Hong Kong a year ago, and yeah, it was magical. And I just waited and waited and shot and shot and shot, and that's one photograph that looks like it could be 2.
Right.
yeah, I see it. Yeah, the divide is
Mhm.
the cone and the blue. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this one's really good.
I agree.
The mirror adds a dimension to all these dimensions, and the lady is like the decisive moment of the soup. Although, is she like drinking the soup or talking to it? I'm not sure.
I was staying next to where this woman was selling newspapers, is like 2 years ago in Hong Kong, and I photographed her every single day. I mean, she was compelling to me. And she, at the last day, the month that I was there, I learned that she was 70 years old, that she was standing there selling the newspapers. Upstairs is the oldest dim sum restaurant in Hong Kong. So she had people, so it was a really interesting, so when I put this photograph together, just knowing her history weighted my photograph. And then I'll just give you a little example. That center photograph was another location that I really was drawn to, and it was like a little person's workstation, and I just watched people go by right and left and catch them in the mirror. That was another little element. And then Maryland on the right is an alleyway that I kept passing by over and over again. And so making these photographs, when they come together, it is a puzzle. It's definitely a puzzle. And
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So did you come up to this conclusion in post, or did you start to think about putting these together on scene, on location?
So there's one in here that happened in one day. That it's the man from leaning over. It's red and silver. I don't know where it is, Jeff.
Yeah.
This one,
yes.
one happened in one day. This one, I went out, never realizing I had been doing these for a while. And I think after you start thinking about the work that you do and how you see, this was an example as I was drawn to silver and gray that entire day and came home, and everything just kind of fit together. And this one was like, boom, just literally inputted all the images, and I just saw it and it fit. It was amazing.
Yeah,
But
I really like this one.
Thank you.
And obviously this is a color series. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that question was I wonder, now that it seems like you've done a really great job here, but I wonder, can you go back to Hong Kong and can you go just to do this again? Because I feel like you could do it even better now that you've had some time to sit with it,
Well, I was just there. I did not make Hong Kong. Is the last time I was there is in January, and I was there a year ago and it was still vibrant, and I made those 2 photographs that are in here, that are one of them that you just liked, that was just bloom. Anyways, long story short, the colors, the vibrancy, the lockdown, I made this one.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this one.
Yes, right here.
This is the only one I made.
Oh yeah, that's the little slither that you're talking about. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. It was just a different experience. Every time you go back to some place, it's different and you're different. And so they don't always come through.
So Granville spoke about this little sliver here with this person in there, and that it's one of the great things about this is you can spend so much time because there's so much to look at. It's and then you find things like that. It's like, oh, it's a great discovery. I love it.
Imagine seeing the exhibition where these are printed really big on the wall.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Well, it's like this voyeuristic kind of peeking through and looking, into hallway, like into courtyards and places where you feel like you shouldn't be looking in, but that's where you discover all the secrets. It's so wonderful.
Thank you.
So to help Ellen out, let's quickly go through these and sort of just give reactions so we can kind of, this is are there any no's?
This one's too simple.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this one's pretty lovely because of the character and the woman on the right and the colors. I like it. I would put it towards the top, but I'm not sure.
I agree. I feel like it's sort of waving us in and out through these spaces.
There's good movement lines with how the different people are walking too. They all seem to kind of be going to the same point, which draws my eye there too. Fascinating.
Okay.
Actually really love this one.
Yeah, the consistency, the color in through all of the images is just lovely. It has that golden hue.
Okay, so I have a very big question for this one. So this one and Bird Market, this is the third one I ever made. So Bird Market is the one that we talked about in the beginning.
Yep.
And the photograph on the left-hand side is very similar, or it could be the same. I'm not sure. I had a few different ones. It's at right the second one. Yep. So it's a little different. So would that
which one's stronger?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's the same. It's the
same
image on
left
the left
side. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you have to choose one or the other.
Yeah.
I really like
this
Bird
one.
Market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It actually blends together better here.
Right.
I wouldn't rule out this one though, if you could maybe try to replace the left with something else. If you know, it is those coats in the window behind them are just magical.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
The light drew me in.
Yep. This one's very complex. I also like that there's like this flower on the table.
This doesn't have stronger. The other ones seem to have stronger subject.
Yeah, this one's a little all over the place. Yeah,
it's more of a sort of a scene and less about subject for me.
I like it though. I think for that reason that it sort of is almost like a palette cleanser.
I was just going to say that, like in a normal photo book, we would have those little pauses, and maybe that's what this is,
Okay.
And it's playful too. It's not like everything is so far in the distance. There's that flowers up close, and there's people that are really far back, and that really is fun to look at.
What do you think about this one? So this one for me looked, I thought this was one image. I thought this was a panorama when I first saw it.
I love this one. This is on, I don't know why, it's just one of my favorite ones for some reason. I just think it's so fun how there's a lady's face and I don't know where it starts and stops, and then the word stop behind it. It's such a mind game. So I really like this one.
Yeah, this is, so the center image, I did a whole sequence of work or series of work with double exposure on the street. So the center image is one from there. And that smile, I mean, the name of this is That Smile. I mean, I just love the woman in the photograph. I mean, she's just magical. This is a brand new piece. This is Israel 2023.
I love the cat. That's so awesome.
I love the man on the right. He's mysterious and a little odd, but I want to know his story. I want to know how the place connects. It really works.
This for me would be in the top 10 for me.
Yeah. Yellow lines.
I'm being exposed to the whole world through your images here. Like we just saw Israel, there was Hollywood, and this is somewhere in Asia.
This is Hong Kong, yeah.
Yeah, this would be also in the top for me.
Pee-wee.
This one I'm not too fond on. I think that it's I don't know, something about, I mean, it looks like we're just looking into the kind of like a shop window from like a third of the photo.
Not as strong because I don't think it has as much going in and out, the kind of push and pull.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. This feels triptych-y to me again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All good images. I'm just not sure that they're lined up like, you know, yeah, they break apart instead of meld together. And I love that red circle. I don't know why it's there, but it's beautiful.
I love that too.
And the circle below it.
That was my Cartier-Bresson moment.
Yes.
Yep.
A little too clean for me.
Nina, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what you said there.
Yeah, not as strong. I think it doesn't have the kind of push pull in out, and you know, I think the consistency is nice of all the panels that we picked or you picked or have been picked that have that much going on or are busier.
And Granville, I think you had an opposing opinion, or was it?
I like it. I kind of similar to the other one. I mean, I like them all, but I think similar to the other one that we talked about, that was sort of like a palette cleanser.
Right.
This one almost starts to act like that for me too, where it's simple, but I think the connections are strong in the way that you're sort of bending space.
Got it.
Right. That's a really interesting concept, the palette cleanser. That's a interesting point to talk about for a second and forget about my sequencing, because it's the palette cleanser is a really interesting notion for us as photographers to think about when we're sequencing our art, right? To think that we need to have 10 images and maybe 2 of those images are a little less quiet. I mean, a little quiet, maybe.
Well, but so let's finish on that thought, because here's a question. So is in critical mass, so Granville, you've experienced it, in critical mass, is 10 images enough that you need to have a palette cleanser, or do you need to have 10 banger images? Because a palette cleanser is something that is beneficial in when you have a show on the wall and you're coming along and you need to have a sequence, or you have a book or a zine and you need to sequence it for that purpose. Do you want a palette cleanser for critical mass, or is that?
I mean, I would say, yeah. I mean, 10 images, it's obviously, it's really short, right? You can't fully encompass your project, but yeah, I mean, it still needs to be a strong image, right? That allows your concept and everything to formulate and unfold. But I think it's just about that rhythm and that flow. And because like the nature that I work and how I make work is creating narratives, whether they're loose or really direct. So I'm sort of always looking for just those little places where I can interject, you know, that pause or that moment of quiet or whatever it is.
Speaking on
So
that,
yeah,
that rhythm aspect you just said, I was always told that sequencing is like writing, you know, a song or a melody or something like that. And if you look at 10 images, then maybe you think of it as a jingle that would be in a commercial or something, you know. It's a very short snippet, but it's still got to have that flow, and a pause is just as irrelevant as a banger, as you put it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think
Well, it's an interesting conversation. I know we didn't get through all of them, Ellen, but if we want to go too long on time. So Ellen Friedlander, thanks for showing your images. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of the project. Granville, Jenae, Nina, Nick, great review. And thank you all for watching the Crit House. Next week, Granville, Carroll.